Welcome to The Middle, a podcast about that messy middle in between job loss and the comeback, told by people who've lived it. From CEOs to veterans, athletes to analysts, we talk to folks navigating the unexpected turns in their careers and what comes next when the plan falls apart. These honest conversations will move you, make you think, and maybe even inspire you to leap into something new. Because behind every career pivot is someone just trying to figure it all out. Did you grow up in North Carolina? Are you from North Carolina?
No.
No? Where are you from?
My parents are French. They moved to Canada. I was born in Canada. We moved to Bahamas, then immigrated into Miami, and then moved up the coast. So, yeah, it's not an easy question.
Goodness. Where I can see. I see the look on your face when I asked that. I was like, oh, okay. Where in France? My family is not as, we're French, but I'm several generations removed from immigrating over. But where in France?
First generation. So dad Paris, mom Dunkirk.
Oh, okay. So my last name, Ranville, is in French, it's Ranville, and it is a town up by Normandy. It was the very first town to be liberated by the British in World War II. So it's a couple kilometers, I think. I'm going to get my directions wrong. It's south, a little bit south of Normandy, but
I will not correct you. I have an aunt that lives in Normandy.
Oh, yes. You can tell I bet if you showed her my last name, there's a little itty bitty village up there. And I've always said I want to go and just like show them my driver's license or show them some sort of ID that has my last name on it.
Very cool.
So, Fabi, you have such a fascinating story, and I want to get into all of it, but I want to start because you help people share their stories in addition to having your own.
Yes.
You've received awards for your own work, but you have a publishing company that is going on 27 years?
We're now in our 29th year, so we just celebrated 28, yeah. So.
Wow. So not only have you won awards for your work, your publishing company has received, I believe, last I checked, and keep me honest, over 300 awards.
Yes.
That is incredible. So I want to get into how did your interest in literature and publishing, how did that all start?
Well, it was my interest in graphic design that brought me into the magazine and publishing industry from that end. And then people were like, well, you guys are doing really cool magazines. Could you design my book covers? And I was like, sure. And then they were like, well, can you do the whole insides of the books? And I was like, well, of course we can. And I started doing those and then realizing that I wouldn't read this. It was awful. And so then that's what led me to, have our editing department and really learn more about that. I am not a writer or an editor, but I hired really great people that could do that. So yeah, I'm not a literary. This is all really marketing and promotions based in telling these stories with purpose in order to help people grow their businesses.
Your company is called Spark Publications. What is Spark Publications?
Spark Publications is a custom publishing firm that helps leaders and entrepreneurs to publish their books at a high level and maintain 100% ownership while getting handheld through the entire process and really just doing things at a very high level.
So who are your typical clients?
Our clients are leaders and entrepreneurial leaders, so we still call them all authorpreneurs that have great knowledge, have wonderful personal stories, and we blend those things together to make those books only the book that they could have written. And that book or those books help them build their business, their brand, or their platform, and in turn build their legacy.
What are some examples? Could you share an example of content, the types of content you publish?
Yeah, I mean, they're business owner books that have a memoir component to them. They are cookbooks that have great anecdotes as to why these recipes came about or how they need to be done. So, anything from beautiful coffee table books. We've done things everywhere from decoy, collecting to museum books to TV and national celebrities that, have cookbooks, or we're doing one right now that is just amazing. Erica actually writes 1,000 letters a year, thank you notes. She writes over 1,000 thank you notes a year. And so she is writing this beautiful coffee table book about how, and then all these amazing celebrities that she has the opportunity to connect with and communicate with, because she is part of a very high profile community. And, so you have these great stories and great books that are just going to help educate people. They're going to help entertain them and decorate your desk at the same time.
I am a sucker, probably like millions of people. I am a sucker for a good book, but I am such a sucker for a good coffee table book. And you just touched on something that I wanted to ask you about, because there are so many, as I understand it, so many stages in publishing something.
121.
Oh, 120. Okay.
It's the 121 steps. Yeah, just a few.
Just a few, Fabi. What stages does Spark Publications get involved in, and what do you have a favorite stage?
Oh, they're like your children. You'll love them all. But we get started really from that very first thought that you have, that maybe you need to write a book, or maybe some come because they feel like they've been told they should write a book. And either way, we have great, strategy sessions, strategic conversation. I have an assessment that everyone that's interested in potentially publishing a book can go to. It's called the Book Success Predictor, and it hasn't failed me yet. So as far as all the phases, I mean, there are, like we just mentioned, so many phases, but you go through and have to make sure that the idea is solid, the topic is solid, and it's going to address the audience that they want to address. But before you can do all that, you have to be really clear as to why you even want to publish and what this book could do for you. So I guess my favorite part is really all the initial consulting and making sure that everything is strategically got a great foundation. Then it's the writing part, which, that can be tedious depending on the author. I do love our ghostwriting partners that help really make that super streamlined. But most of ours can't necessarily afford that direction. And so I coach them through writing it. But then the absolute most fabulous part is designing the covers, designing the functionality of the book, the entire book inside. And then the next absolute most wonderful part and favorite part is getting to hug that book after it's all done.
I bet seeing the final product, and I bet it's a labor of love.
It is actually called a birthing process.
As a mom,
yeah.
I get that.
Yes. So you fully understand.
And then actually, how long does it take? Does it take 9 to 10 months?
Depending on where they are in the process when they come in. So obviously, if they have already got a really strong first draft of the manuscript, then we just can go into, depending on what level of editing phase they need. I mean, we just worked with an amazing business owner who had a very strong draft. We did a deep edit, copy edit, but hers was pretty good. And so we were able to do everything from start to finish then within about 5.5 months.
Oh, wow.
But then,
okay.
Yeah, but then we've had folks come in and it's like 2 years later, the whole process is done, or a year later. So, yeah.
I want to pivot to you, because you said Spark Publications is going into its 29th year, but you have lived so much life before you even started Spark Publications. And when you and I were talking prior to this recording, you said that life pummeled you before you had even turned 18.
It did.
So can you explain that to our listeners? Take me back. What do you mean when you say life pummeled you? What was happening?
How about I just go to 15 years old?
Okay, let's start there.
So at 15, my parents had decided to open a restaurant. And That sounds fairly typical, except for they're French immigrants and they were speaking English. They just had very strong, beautiful French accents. And my dad had tried all kinds of other, side hustles and all of these things, and none of those worked. So he just thought he would start a restaurant and just go big. He was going for the big buck, right? Well, the summer before my senior year in high school, the restaurant failed and it needed to close, and we lost the home and the farm that we lived on, and we had to move into a friend's home. We were in South Carolina. We moved to a friend's home in North Carolina and, started high school in a different state with all kinds of different criteria. So that was interesting. I was done with having that kind of life that it just seemed so unstable and all that. So I decided to take a leap from my own life. And at 17, without any money, I didn't know anybody, I didn't have a car, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina by myself. And I went to community college to become a graphic designer. I worked 3 jobs. I just worked to start my own life.
Why Charlotte?
Because it had a great graphic design program at a school that if I worked 3 jobs with no support from anybody else, I could pay for it. It was very strategic.
Oh my gosh. It is a beautiful city. I've been several times.
I love it. Been here ever since.
Can you remember how that felt moving to Charlotte, not knowing anyone, not having a car? I can only imagine what, say, your first night was like there. Where did you stay? What did you do?
I found a girls' boarding house that housed 60 transient women, and it was like $300 for a quarter. So it was dirt cheap, and there's reasons why. So yeah, I was scared. But it was now my life. There was no option. There was no security net. There was nobody to say I'm doing good or this is stupid. I just had to keep moving forward. So, I landed jobs.
I think in that situation, so many people have said you find a way to make it work. The Tim Gunn quote, make it work.
Make it work. Yeah. And it didn't matter if I was scared or if I had any confidence or no confidence. It's like I had to keep moving forward. I mean, there was nobody handing me any money. I worked at a restaurant so I can get some food. It's just like you just don't realize how strategic you can actually be when you're in survival mode. And at 17, I don't know. I just did what I had to do to keep moving forward. I walked a lot of places. I worked a lot and just kept moving forward.
Being a teenager in survival mode is hard. It's hard. I'm 40, and if I'm in survival mode for moments, I'm in survival mode when I have to do my 6th grader's homework with him, Fabi. I can't imagine having that much life pressure on me. Did it change what your definition of success was going to be?
I didn't even take time to figure out what success was going to be. Success was like, hey, I'm okay the next day and I get to get up and try it all over again. But I think what it did do for me that early on is it gave me a very strong work ethic. It was something that served me well throughout most of my personal life and my career. But I have also had to reprogram that because nobody needs to work for 50 years that hard, and that's what I was doing. There was a time where I just needed someone to say, you're doing okay, and hey, I started getting that towards awards. And when you start winning some awards, then you win other awards for having won those awards, and it just kind of escalated. It helped give me a little bit of a confident boost. That's never going to happen. That's one of my things. I kind of, swirl in doubt and lack in confidence pretty much all the time.
I think we all have that lack of confidence in some areas of our life at some point or another. But I think we all, and that external validation. I know there's so much out there right now about love yourself and don't seek that validation, which I think is good advice. But I think to
To a
say,
degree. Yeah, to a
to,
degree. And if you're going to have your own
exactly,
business, you have to have other people kind of validating you to know that what you have is what other people want to purchase, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
It's almost this, I hate to say toxic level, but that extremeness of like, you don't need any validation almost swings us too far in the other direction.
exactly. You have to find that beautiful middle even at all times. And really, I mean, that is really a huge life journey is, yes, I struggled for many years. Yes, I had great success. Yes, there's a beautiful middle that you can live there without having to push for success or to struggle in survival mode.
I want to jump forward a few years. So
Okay.
you had moved to Charlotte. You are working 3 jobs. You're just trying to survive. So you then built your own company. Did that stem from the uncertainty that you had felt in those, early years of being in Charlotte and wanting to have maybe a little bit more of
No,
stability?
no, let me
No?
stop you there. No, that was never that strategic. The first company I had, which was Preslar Design, that came about because I had gone on maternity leave and didn't want to leave my child. I didn't want to go back to work. And so I started my own thing there. And then during Hugo, we lost power for 2 weeks and I needed to take care of this kid and I needed to take care of this business. I had a client that said, I have open space, come in and work in the space. And anyway, you can't put an entrepreneur in a space without something happening. So, 6 years later, we've built this huge publishing company that was working with Tyson and Westinghouse and all of
Oh,
these things,
wow.
building their employee communications and all those things.
So you put 6 years of time, blood, sweat, tears into that company and they let you go. And it was your company.
Well, yes, but I was convinced to sign on and become a director of the company, which made me an employee. And then,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So don't do that. not, not without your own lawyers and knowing how to read the contracts. So,
Note to all listeners.
yes.
Did so did that again, I'm going to go back because we talk a lot about these middles and when you're
Yes.
in a middle, you're forced to start over. You're forced to redefine things. Did that change your definition of what does starting over look like? Because you had already started over at 17.
Yeah, I never saw it as starting over. And I think that is probably the mindset that kept me sane and also kept me moving forward. So, if something ends, you don't start over, you move forward to the next thing. And that may sound a little different, but that's what kept me okay. So there was no way I could start that company or that kind of career over again. So I went and worked a couple different corporate things, learned a lot of skills, and then I didn't really want to start another business, but I couldn't find the type of thing that would help me accomplish all that I needed to accomplish. And so, cold turkey, I left and I started my business to be home with my daughter and my husband, who it seemed everybody on the planet was spending more time with than I was. But it took a couple months to even get a call. So, not advisable. Do the side hustle first. Get your business foundation and all that set up. This was tough. That was tough.
When you have changed or taken these leaps that you've been talking about, how did you know that those were the right paths to take? And if the answer is I didn't know, how did you at least know this is what I should do right now?
You never know. And that's what risk is. It's not a risk if you know how it's going to end up, right? But I always believe that I will continue moving forward. I will create something. And to be able to create with other people and everyone have a similar end goal in mind, we just decided to see what we could do. We went all in. There was no backing out. But, we thought about a plan B and we couldn't find anything. So we just made sure to make plan A work.
Would you say that going all in is a bit of a theme of your life?
If I decide to do something, I do it, and I decide to do it. I'm not 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm all in. And when you are all in, you face plant. So, or you shine. So, I'm going for the shine. Be all
But you
sparkly.
learn either way.
You learn either way, for sure. For sure.
I want to go to a couple years ago because the other thing that you had shared with me that I want to talk about is you received a cancer diagnosis.
I did. Blindsided me. Big time.
Well, you answered my first question.
Okay.
Can I ask first, do you mind sharing the diagnosis?
It was a stage 2 ductal invasive carcinoma of, other technical terms. So it was breast cancer. It needed to be removed and it required treatment.
Had you suspected anything? Did you have any symptoms? I know you said you were blindsided.
I got the call and I even rolled my eyes and said, hello, when I saw it was the nurse. And when she told me that, I about passed out and had to have her put it on speakerphone and, say it again so my husband and I could hear it. So yeah, it was not news that we wanted or expected.
Of course. You received this diagnosis. How did you power through that? You're running your own business. You have a family. You have social responsibilities. What was going through your mind?
Everyone, including me, thought I was going to power through this whole diagnosis, this whole challenge thing. I have been working since I was 13 years old and decided to take another courageous leap. And that courageous leap was to take a healing sabbatical and not power through it, but listen to what my body was trying to tell me and listen to why my soul had to give me not a thump, but a smack with a 2x4 in the head and the body. And I learned a lot about myself during that time. It was probably an 8-month journey. And it was a 6-month sabbatical. And you learn a lot about your thoughts when you're type A and have to keep going and always making things and creating things. And so I got to face myself for the very first time. So even though when we got that diagnosis, we were at the beach and I literally went and cried in the ocean, and the ocean spoke back to me and let me know that this was going to be the hardest thing I'd ever go through, but I was going to be okay. I opted to not do chemo, and I opted to not do the pills for 10 years afterwards. So you just make decisions that work for you. And all you can do is hope that you made the right decision, which, answers your previous question. You take risks. You never know. You never know.
Did you have to face some stories that you had told yourself about yourself and rewrite them?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So many on so many different levels. Everything from I had to deal with the biggest thing was personal disappointment. I was so deeply disappointed in myself for having cancer. And now that sounds really awful, but when you take somebody that's been in survival mode their whole life and living on that level of intensity, it was almost like I was seeing it as cancer was a failure, a personal failure. And that was one of the big things I had to heal through. It was not. It ended up being a gift that showed me really who I am and the potential that I do have without having to force and shove and make things happen.
There is, and I'm going to botch it, a Dolly Parton quote that says, "Storms make trees take deeper roots."
Absolutely. Yep.
And keep me honest, you don't know when. It's not like you're going to get through this in 3 months. The timeline is never clear.
No. And I'm bad about that because I'm like, let's do it now.
Same.
So,
Same.
yeah. No, I had complications with every step of things that happened. So my body, had allergic reactions to this, to that, so it was a long process.
No. Well, I'm so glad you're doing better.
I'm
I
doing
am so
great.
glad you look fantastic. You look amazing. You're glowing. It is a hard thing to go through.
Yeah. This is 6 years out, just so that your listeners know. Yeah.
And that takes me to, I hope you don't mind me telling folks, you recently turned 60.
I
which
did.
is an incredible milestone.
Yes.
Has that, especially in light of, let's just recap, where you started at 17, Fabi.
Yeah.
And now having the journey that you've had, has turning 60 changed what you want to achieve in the future?
I don't know about change what I wanted in the future, but I decided to really celebrate 60. So I had been silently becoming an artist and painting, and decided that I was going to do a painting every month anyway, it ended up being 2.5 years with the goal of sharing it at my 60th birthday party. So for my 60th birthday party, my husband and my company threw me the most beautiful gallery exhibit at a museum that I got to share. I think it ended up being 28 of my paintings to friends that had no idea. And then we decided to take all of those paintings, and I had just published a new book as well, and all the proceeds, because I didn't want gifts, I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to celebrate the journey. I wanted to celebrate my friends. So all the proceeds, and we made a lot of money that night, which I never thought I'd sell so many books and so many paintings to people that knew me, but we did. And it was absolutely beautiful. And more beautiful work is going to come from that through Radiant Chapters Collective, which will publish books for deserving, underserved entrepreneurs to help them build their business and their legacy.
And I want to ask you about that just because you mentioned it. So you have published your own book. So was this book number 3?
Yes. Yep.
What has that experience been like for you as an author?
Well, I go through the same process through my company, so it's been an evolution. This last one is just a beautiful, quirky book that the words came to me, through higher wisdom, through all these experiences, and it's called Wilted and Worthy. And all the photographs are just these beautiful wilting things in nature and composites that took on a different life and a different meaning by being in a different stage of where it is.
Your second book is, and I'm going to tease the audience a little, it's about F words.
It is. It's called Fabulous F Words.
Which is another fabulous F word,
title
for a book.
Yes.
What made you want to go from publisher to author?
The first book was On Heaven's Couch, and it was about that beautiful soul of a woman that took my family in when I was 17. And she taught me so much. It was On Heaven's Couch, a journey with my masterful mentor. And she taught me so much about love, friendship, service. And that's where that first book came. Then the second book was years later. It's like 7 years later. And the Fabulous F Words of Business Ownership was all about fear and faith and just fabric of, the things that come together in your business. So that was the business side. And then 7 years later, I guess there is a 7-year itch, but mine is just as writing a book, I guess, is Wilted and Worthy. And that's essays on holding on, letting go, and living fully.
It's a beautiful book. I will caveat that you sent it to me and I read it. I highly recommend folks go to your website and order a copy of it because it's fantastic. As we wrap up, I want to ask a couple last questions. Life has knocked you down several times, and you have done such an exemplary effort of standing back up. But has navigating each of those middles become easier the more experience you have, or do you think there's still things to learn from each transition?
Oh, I don't think they are. They don't get any easier. But what does happen is the time frame to take your next step is much shorter. There's a lot less pouting. There's a lot less licking wounds. The pity parties are much, much shorter. I had to do something really hard yesterday, and is not something I ever wanted to do. But the lessons are still there. I got to see where I missed the signs, but I'm back on my feet. So no, I don't know that it ever gets easier. It just gets shorter as you get wiser.
For anyone else in their own middle, in their own transition, whatever that may be in their life, what is one act of, you called it stupid courage when you and I chatted last week. And I'll say that's because you said you have had, you say that you don't view yourself as a particularly confident person, but you've had a lot of stupid courage.
Yes.
What is one act of stupid courage someone could do as they go through their own middle, big or small?
Really look inward, because I have the strong belief that everything is happening for us and not to us. When you start realizing what the probability is that this really hard situation just happened for you instead of to you, then you can ask yourself different questions from a place of deep sincerity, authenticity. You tap into whatever level of faith that you have to ask those questions. So self-awareness and asking yourself some really big questions instead of having all that energy go towards a pity party. Which I've had some really good pity parties that I could invite so many people to.
I was about to say, I have had some good pity parties for myself,
Yeah.
Fabi.
Yeah.
And last question before our lightning round, I want to go back to that 17-year-old Fabi who had just moved to Charlotte, and on her first night, what would you tell her now at 60?
I'd tell her, you may not see it yet. What you are doing is an act of courage. It will shape your life, and you'll tap into this courage many times on your path ahead. You may be by yourself, but you are never, ever alone. And then I give her a hug, because I couldn't just tell her that without saying so.
Oh, I want to give you a hug. I want to give 17-year-old you a hug.
Oh, she needed it so badly.
Oh, we all do, especially right now.
Yes.
Well, we are at the lightning round.
Oh, no. Okay. I mean, yay.
That, you are probably the first one to actually vocalize, I think, what is the actual reaction most guests have when I say that.
Yeah.
So, Fabi, what is your favorite day of the week?
My favorite day of the week, I think, is Friday. It's an F word, and it's the beginning and the end of several things. Friday. I never said that before. It's kind of cool. I never thought it.
It's good. I liked it.
Yeah.
What is your favorite word?
My favorite word, flourish, and another F word.
Is your bed made right now?
Absolutely. Every morning.
Good for you. I am terrible at that.
No, cannot leave the house if the bed is unmade. And my husband's the same way. So it's a good thing.
What is your favorite city in the U.S.?
Charlotte, North Carolina. It's where I grew my heart. It's where I found my soulmate and deepest love. We've been married 39 years. It's home. It's wherever we go together will be home. But right now, Charlotte's my favorite city.
What is one experience you think everyone should have at least once in their life?
True failure. And if they're not failing, they're not trying hard enough to succeed.
Who was your first celebrity crush?
My first and only celebrity crush was Donny Osmond.
Very common one.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well,
it was the purple socks. I don't.
Yeah. I have, maybe I should say not a common one on the podcast, but I know many people that have Donny Osmond as their first crush.
Oh my gosh.
What is your most prized possession?
I don't want to call my husband and our relationship. Our relationship is like the truest thing that I have. So whether you call that a possession or not, That's the most valuable, cherished thing that I have.
That's beautiful. I want to marry your husband, Fabi. And last but not least, what is something you own way too many of, but regret none of them?
Right now, paintings. I have a lot of paintings, really good ones and really crappy ones that have their own corner, but we have a lot of paintings.
I love it. I bet your house is so colorful.
It used to have no art in it whatsoever, and now now it has a lot of art.
Well, Fabi, where can folks find you and learn more about Spark Publications?
Go to sparkpublications.com, and best place to reach me is on LinkedIn, and it's Fabi Preslar, FABI PRESLAR.
I love, love, love your story. I love how resilient you are. I think everything that you have shared and your willingness to share the lessons that you have learned and what you have gone through is going to help so many people who might feel really alone right now and feeling like they're the only ones going through what they're going through. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Well, and thank you for having this podcast, because the middle is actually the beginning of your next great phase of your life. And you showcasing these stories and helping people with these lessons is absolutely beautiful. So thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Middle. If today's story resonated with you, drop a subscribe, share the episode, and let's keep these conversations going. Until next time, remember, your story isn't over. You're just in the middle.